Welcome back, folks, to another episode of The Corner. I know it's been a while, but I am here with my pal. Oh man, now you changed your name again. Grammy?
Yeah, you, Grammy, yeah, but you can go Mugen is fine, man.
Mugen
You
is
can just
fine.
go.
Okay, man. I'll go with the
Yeah,
old one,
yeah,
Mugen.
um, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
what's up, man? You've been to
Mugen is fine.
France. How
Yeah,
has yeah?
France, man.
How has that trip been? You learn
Uh,
anything?
oh yeah. I mean, we did a lot for the trip. It was very busy. Um, yeah. I mean, the first thing we kind of visited a lot of landmarks. Well, the first landmark since we stayed at I stayed at I should say at in Lyon.
Yeah,
We one of the major landmarks there is the basilics of Notre Dame de Fourvière, which is basically a basilica. It's just a big church. Lots of, you know, the architecture. Obviously, it's amazing. Artwork is amazing, and history there is also very quite interesting as well. And then after that, we visited Paris for about 24 hours. So we kind of I sort of like visited all the landmarks there. The Eiffel Tower, which was my second time being there. Eiffel Tower, the Louvre,
yeah.
uh, the Arc of Triumph, and some other landmarks like the big one Notre Dame de Paris, which is still being fixed because of the fire that happened. I believe was it last year or 2 years ago? I'm not sure, but so it's
Wow,
still being repaired.
still, god damn.
Yeah, there's still construction ongoing there, and you can't. There's like a big walled out fences. You can't really get that close to it. You can take pictures from afar, but you can't really get close to it because it's historical things, and they have to if there is anything that can be restored, because a lot of it,
Right,
if you restore it, it loses its
right. That's
value, I guess. But
yeah.
but you
It
can carefully dust things off, then
No,
scrape,
exactly, exactly. It is.
burns, yeah,
It
things
is
like that.
because the entire building is what is it called in English? Um, Let me check. It is protected. You know, it is protected
Right,
because,
exactly.
from history. So yeah, if they can't salvage it, then they're not allowed to like probably remove one brick from the Notre Dame, and that must be why it has taken over 2 years to restore it. I believe. I think that was it.
Mm.
Saw the same thing when I was in Portugal, where retired English people were to buy, like these land farms, like to retire in.
Mhm.
But if they were to restore them or to renovate them, then they could. Then it was like very much limitations and restrictions on how to do it, and it would have to look like exactly like it did in 18 whatever it was built.
Right.
Right. Uh,
Absolutely, absolutely.
so yeah, man, you were in Paris, Lyon, man. Did you travel by car or by train?
Yeah. So, yeah, to go to Paris, we considered taking the bullet train, but that's just way too expensive, and we needed more time to plan for that, anyways. So yeah, we did drive, which is about a 5 hour drive. Like to give you an idea, in the U.S., you'll kind of be from here where I am in Maryland to New York. That's like the same distance. So it's like a 5 hour drive minimum to the city, and I just stayed at a Airbnb over there, and then moved around the city through the metro,
Right.
the subway system over there, which is very similar to New York as well, just a little less packed, but pretty much the same thing. I guess it's
Was
like that
was
in
it
every major city.
was it faster than the New
Well,
York than the New
the
York metro
metro,
trains? Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't. There's not much different because like there's the subway system, no, but the bullet train. I mean, obviously the bullet train is the bullet train. The United States don't really have one.
Yep.
Don't have bullet trains. But the TGV in France is like well known. But that one you have to pay for it. The other one, well, the other one technically you have to pay for it, but it's like the subway thing. You get a little pass and just swipe. Some people don't even pay for it. I legit saw someone like just jump off, like jump over the what do you call it? The uh the doors, the automatic doors. Because so,
Yeah.
so basically you pay for like a little ticket, right? And then you scan the ticket, and then those automatic bars open up so that you can walk through. But some people, they literally just hop over them and go in. Most people don't, but a few people do. Usually, it's like teenagers that do that, or whatever. But yeah, um, but yeah, that was quite tiring. And at the end of that, we had a tour guide, which was kind of redundant because we already visited the landmarks, and by we I mean my family. Now we visited landmarks on foot on our own, and so we had a tour guide plan. At the end of the day, we didn't realize that the tour guide was going to go to the exact same landmarks that we already did. So yeah, we basically like revisit. So it was kind of like quite a trip. At least 14 hours on foot walking through Paris. It was
Holy
quite
shit.
something and tiring. Yeah, it was
14
tiring.
hours on foot.
Yeah, that
God
was quite
damn.
it's quite tiring. I was pretty much done by the end of that, but it was nice. The Louvre was very nice. I wish we had more time to, because the Louvre is just, even if you take an entire week to yourself, you cannot go through the entire thing. Like if you're looking at each artwork individually and like taking it in, learning about the thing, it will take you more than a week to finish the entire Louvre. So we had to like see as much as we can in just 2 hours, because we only stayed there for 2 hours inside the Louvre. And the only artwork that I really really wanted to see, of course, was the Mona Lisa,
Yeah.
and I rushed, but I finally was able to find it. I was kind of getting lost through the in the building. I was getting lost. I couldn't find my way, but I finally found it before we had to leave and meet up and go. And yeah, it's like I think it's the most famous art piece in the. I think it is the most famous art piece in the entire museum. And there's like it's the only art piece where there's actual a whole distance. Like there's a, because for most of them you can kind of get close a little bit, but this one you have to stay like at least like 10 feet away or something. And there's a line if you want to look at it from just directly face it, you have to make a line. And so there's a book, because a bunch of people try to take, there's like an infamous or a famous thing about the Mona Lisa is in the Louvre, is that it's hard to take a picture of just the Mona Lisa without someone in the frame, and that's why there's a line and all that. And I also took like two pictures, but there were people in the frame because I didn't want to take the line because I didn't care for that. I got to see it, so I didn't care about like taking the perfect picture or whatever. Um, so yeah, but it's kind of, I wouldn't say surreal. It's kind of like, oh wow, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, it's a painting, at least for me. But it was actually, it was very it was a gorgeous painting though. Of course, obviously, if I could, I would have, if I could without any hassle, I would have liked to see it more up close. But obviously, I didn't have enough time to do the whole line and try to see it as close as possible. I tried to take like a nice picture of it, but it was nice to see. I mean, some other artworks, because of my personal taste and bias, were a lot more attractive to me. There's some of them are just absolutely huge, like huge. Um, what do you call them? Huge frames, like just huge art pieces. Huge paintings. The Mona Lisa is kind of like as is about the size of like a framed poster in your room, and
All
some
right.
other ones were like the size of an entire wall or something, an entire wall, and about during the Renaissance period and all that. And it's really incredible. Like, yeah, it's the type of museum you really want to, you can't do it in just a day. You have to really take your time in order to truly enjoy it. And I wish I did. My favorite hall was I'll definitely go back one day if I can. With someone. I think it'd be just an amazing experience if you're not like pressured with time. It's really great. It's really nice. There's like a tour. So you have the option of like, which was kind of cool. When you start the museum, you can kind of like choose to do an audio guide, and so they give you a Nintendo 3DS that's like programmed with the art pieces in the museum, and you have a headset attached to it. Uh, which I still don't know why a 3DS, which is kind of interesting, but it's a 3DS. They give you a Nintendo 3DS, and that's like you know, it's modified specifically for the museum. Obviously, you can't play games on it. It's modified specifically for the museum, so you can interact with the art pieces and listen to the history and all that. But again, it's like if you're pressured with time, then you're gonna lose on a lot of pieces if you're trying to like read about each one. So I tried to like look at as many interesting pieces as I could, and the rest, well, I'll save it for another time. So
Like two things that's just like sticking in my head.
Mhm.
One is that it is almost exactly 110 years since the Mona Lisa was stolen.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was stolen in August 1911,
That's
and
first. I didn't even know it was stolen. Wow.
only once though.
Okay.
They got it back like 2 years after when the guy came back to Italy, to Florence, to try and sell it.
Hmm.
But it was like kind of like simple plan, because like the dude who stole it, Vincenzo was one of the guys working on how to make the protective frames for the paintings in the Louvre. So he just simply like hid something in one of the protective cases to open it, and then just walked in, grabbed it, and left. Um, I don't know. Like I forgot like what was the second thing I was going to say. I was going to ask if the glass pyramid of the Louvre has always been there,
Hmm.
if it was part of the original construction.
I'm not sure actually. That's a good question. I before I even we even entered, I thought that was like an actual like exhibit as well. I thought the glass structure was like a a piece in itself, but that's just the entrance of the Louvre. So basically, that pyramid there has a door. Usually in the pictures, you don't. I mean, maybe you do see it, but it has a door, and you go inside, and there's stairs, and then you're in like the first floor of the Louvre,
Yeah.
and it's actually a lot. It's basically underground. The museum is underground, and it's a lot bigger than it looks. Like the pyramid, it still looks pretty big, but it like basically the Louvre. If you see the picture of the plaza of the courtyard, it's the entire size of not only the courtyard but some of the garden area, but it's all underground. You can go inside once you're in the museum, and you will go inside the buildings that are around that pyramid because they're part of the museum. If you're like you go underground, right, and you'll take some stairs or escalators or whatever, and there's some halls and art pieces in those things too. Uh, it's very well designed. Like I said, the architecture in Paris is actually insane and breathtaking. Even throughout France, to be honest, because France is one of the oldest countries in the world, and so there's a lot of there's been a lot of they were fortunate enough that a lot of their architecture and infrastructure remained the same even through all the world wars. Because even when they got invaded by Germany during World War II, I believe even Hitler didn't want to damage anything because he was also amazed by the the architecture, so he
Yeah,
didn't
yeah,
want
and
to.
he was also an art fanatic. He
Yes, he
wanted,
was
yeah,
exactly. Yeah, he
yeah,
was. So yeah. Actually, speaking of which, during the tour guide, we went to the Arc of Triumph, which is the big arc in the Les Champs Elysees, that big arc thing. And he was telling us a bit of the lore about it, and how it's only a very few people actually walk through the arc. Uh, um, and how like Hitler didn't even want to walk through it, even though this was after he invaded France. He didn't want to because he felt like even though he invaded France, he didn't earn the right to walk through, which was kind of an interesting thought. Um, and that's also where there's like the famous legend of like the unnamed soldier that's buried under the ark as well. And but and around it is the roundabout where cars like just drive around it. And it's like they nicknamed him one of the most dangerous crosswalks or whatever, because there's no
yeah.
crosswalks. You cross the road at your own risk. The cars won't stop for you. If you get hit, you get hit. Actually, as he was saying that, a group of girls like try to cross it and they almost got hit. But there is a way to get across. You can't just go underground. There's like a tunnel that connects from the other side to the street to the center of the arc. But some people just want to cross it just cause. And some drivers, they wanna they know that it's like what's associated with this place, so they'll intentionally not slow down for anyone, because they know they can get away with it. If you don't got entrance, you're fucked basically. So
How
lol.
how the hell
But
how do you get out from that if you are in the most
oh,
inner
so like I said,
lane?
there's a tunnel.
There's a tunnel. Yeah,
Yeah, you
but
take the tunnel underground.
yeah,
But if you
but
don't, you can either take that or you don't,
yeah,
and
but
you just cross again.
if you're one of the cars driving in the inner lane,
Yeah,
how the hell do you get out of there?
there is
You
no
just
lane.
no,
It's just a big roundabout.
there's just a big roundabout. Holy shit!
Yeah, there's no
What?
lane. It's
What?
just a big roundabout, like cars, a lot of cyclists as well, like a lot of scooters. There's a huge amount of scooters in France. People use scooters in the cities a lot,
Yeah,
not bikes, like scooters. Because well, it's a city, so it makes sense. But
yeah,
and
like mopeds and shit. Yeah. Um.
exactly, yeah, mopeds, things like that. So,
Oh man,
um,
no
but yeah,
lanes.
it was.
I never imagined that.
At the roundabout, yeah, there's no lanes. But there is lanes in other parts of the city. And
No,
the one thing about France is that the roads are a lot more narrow than compared to the U.S. So I had to drive for a little bit there, and that's one thing that I noticed. So it's kind of like, and the thing is, they drive. I guess since you grow up with there, you get used to it. But they drive at like the same speed, sometimes even faster, and the roads are a lot more narrow.
yeah,
So when I was driving, I was
yeah,
kind of like not paranoid, but kind of like very cautious and slow, because I was like, yo, this is. Plus, it was my first time driving those areas, so I wasn't used to them. So it was like I was kind of taking it slow, but still, like I like hit a curb a couple times, but it's all good.
like
But
when I drove in northern France, I just felt like the drivers were aggressive as hell
yeah,
compared to where
yeah,
I
yeah.
come from.
The drivers are pretty aggressive. Yeah, actually, because I haven't really had to deal with you know, I haven't really seen aggressive drivers in the U.S. that much, but I like as soon as I drove, there's a guy that he was at least going 80 miles per hour, and he was just weaving through every single car. I was like, okay, let me put myself to the side there and just let him pass. But he was just weaving, and people don't honk or anything. It's just it is what it is.
Yeah, man.
There is
Yeah, man.
radars, there is speed radars, but not that much.
It's
And
freaky. It's freaky, man.
yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
I remember driving in Marseille, and or was it Cannes? It was like either Cannes or Marseille, and like I would just like get scooters, big freaking scooters on
Hmm.
either side of the car. Like just passing through heavy traffic, And I felt like,
Hmm.
holy shit, man! Like they could get killed so easily, and they're driving without helmets as well.
Mm.
Pretty nuts.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, huh? Towards
Yeah.
the end of the trip, we went further south to Massan Nord. So basically, we went to the beach side on the coast, the southern coast of France. So the Mediterranean Sea, and for a week. And so basically, it was beach times, and that was also kind of fun. Um, you know, yeah, that camp. So it was sort of like a camping, quote unquote, camping site. A little, yeah, it's like a camping site, like a beachside camping site. You go in there, you check in, right? You have a little sort of trailer that you stay in, which was surprisingly cozy and clean and nice. And you get to meet new people if you want, because most people are like there for the same amount of stay until the next group comes in. Um, and yeah, so that was the last thing I did before I came back. Uh, before I came here back here yesterday. So um, but yeah, it's very fun.
Man, you
It was very packed and very busy, but I enjoyed it.
you had some kind of trip, man. Wow. How
Yeah, it was nice.
how how long were you there for? Like 3 weeks?
I was there for a month, so
Oh,
exactly a month.
wow,
So
man.
basically around the 20th of June and until now.
Wow, man. Um,
Yeah.
a fun fact about France: 40% of the population is atheists.
Oh, really?
Yeah, man. Kind of
40%
nuts.
of the population.
40%
That
of
is
the,
interesting.
and only
I did not
51.
know that. 40.
Yeah, 51% is Christian, 5% is Islam, and 3% other. Wow. Um,
That's
yeah, man. And another thing is that the prince. No, wait. The president of France,
mm-hmm.
which now is let me see, Emmanuel
Macron.
Macron,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and the Archbishop of hell, man, like what's that place in Spain called? You know, like that that's one that wants independence. Um,
I have no idea.
something with C. Main independence. There's been like some writing. Yeah, the Catalan independence movement,
Okay.
um,
Mm-hmm.
which is a region in Spain, um, like what Catalonia, the region of Catalonia in Spain. The archbishop of this region, plus the president of France, at any given time, is always the crowned prince of Andorra.
Okay.
Kind of like a weird fact, you know, like Andorra is like a small ass country laying between southern France and northern Spain, and there's only like one way in, one way out. You know, like through either through the French side or through the Spanish side in a tunnel. Well, that's kind of weird. You know, like if you're elected president, and then you can also call yourself a prince.
I guess so. Yeah. Pretty interesting. I don't know if he actually uses that privilege or not, but yeah, that's quite interesting.
Yeah, like
Um,
I wonder like
but yeah,
if they
that's a
visit it.
I didn't.
But man, like Andorra is like something of its own, because like I'm wondering, you know, like who goes on vacation there, because the place don't have an airport, right? So so if you go there, you are 3 hours away from any major airport by car. The closest one
Mm-hmm.
being like Barcelona or let me see, I think like Barcelona and, but like think about it. You want to go there, and then you gotta go like another 3 hours by car to get somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
That is pretty crazy. Yeah, man. Like the closest airport from there would be uh, main airport would be the airport outside of Cannes in Marseille.
Fun.
Yeah. Wow,
Okay.
man. So you're like 3 hours by car away from like either major airport, and you have to like go through that tunnel and long ass place. But still, like it looks nice because you have that climate and you have skiing ranges and Alps and shit. Pretty interesting. Um, man,
Okay.
anyways, like back to France. You know, like it's way bigger than I ever imagined because it is like even if you look on the map, it you still can't see it, but it is actually like twice the size of Germany in land area.
It's quite big. Yeah, it's quite a bit. It's a pretty big country. Yeah.
Yeah, because they also still maintain French Guyana in South Africa. No, South America. I'm sorry. South
Ah,
America. Yeah,
okay, okay,
right.
okay. Yeah.
So and that's like on the size of like one of the major regions of France. So it's like adding another region to an already big country.
Sure. Speaking of which, it reminds me. You mentioned fun fact is I actually learned that too a few days ago that there's more French speakers in West Africa than there is in France, I should say. Like more people in West Africa speak French than actual people in France, because most of the France used to have a lot of colonies in
Yeah,
West Africa, which technically, well, yeah, independence, but they still have a lot of influence still. But
it did,
so I
man.
was like,
Like
oh, that,
the language has been hanging around.
oh yeah,
Uh,
for sure.
kind of
So
like the same, as like Dutch has been hanging around in South Africa, except that Dutch has like become like their own dialect or something in South Africa,
mm,
since it is like mixed with Dutch and Afrikaan or what you call it. But yeah, man, it doesn't surprise me that there's more English speakers in West Africa. No, I mean more French speakers in West Africa than in all of France. Not by a long shot. I mean, like they speak French in Algeria, right? I think that's the
in
main like
Algeria, yeah,
yeah, that's the main language in
Algeria are
Algeria.
in the north, but
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't know if it's the main. Cause I would assume Arabic was the main language in Algeria, in the north, it being an Arabic country. But I know, yeah, they might probably speak French there because I know since I lived in Tunisia, which is also an Arabic country, the one of the main languages was French and Arabic. Um, so I would say Arabic first, then French. Since it's like right underneath France,
yeah,
it's only
man.
separated by the Mediterranean Sea. Yeah.
Yeah,
Which,
man,
by
you're
the
right.
way, a lot of the infrastructure, right? Because I had like a hit of nostalgia when I first arrived in Lyon because the street signs and the way the roads looked and everything was very similar, if not identical, to Tunisia when I lived in Tunis.
Yeah,
So I was like, oh, which makes sense. The influence from historical influence from the two countries and all that stuff.
right.
Yeah.
You're right, by the way. Like Arabic is the first language in Algeria.
Mm.
But I just assumed, like that they spoke French. Um, but it has to be like at least be like a second language or something.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised that some of them, if a big portion of the population definitely speaks French for sure. I mean, it's like I said, they're not too far apart. So
No, right? And
yeah.
they did hold Algeria as a colony. Um,
Oh, or did they? Okay.
I I
Oh,
thought so. I thought so.
that would explain
Like
it.
let me double check it though.
Okay.
Like French colonies. Um, I gotta like fucking now. I gotta like check it. Sorry for swearing there. Um,
That's all good.
oh yeah, man, they did.
Okay. Okay.
Holy shit, they hold a lot of countries
Yeah, they had a lot. They
in
had a lot of colonies.
um. Let me see. because it was like also like a large part of Canada, not all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was also like then it was also the entire Midwest of the U.S. Um, that's something that surprised me though, because like I knew that Napoleon sold a large piece of the United States to fund his war chest in Europe, right? And that it was called the Louisiana Purchase. But I didn't know that the Louisiana Purchase didn't just include Louisiana; it included the entire Midwest of the United States, which was something like
Mm.
30% or something of U.S. mainland.
Mm-hmm.
And that always made me wonder, like, did he know how much freaking land he just sold off? Because it was a large part, man. Pretty nuts. Um, all right, man. Former French colonies in Africa. It's been like Algeria, Tunis, Burkina Faso, Mali, Morocco, Mauritania, Senegal, Guinea, Ivory Coast, Togo, Benin, Cameroon, Gabon, Congo, and Madagascar. And also
Okay.
Niger, Chad, and Central African Republic, and Djibouti. Pretty, pretty nuts, man. Yeah, Djibouti is
Yeah.
like small, but still, like this was like a large part of Africa. This, if you like, can see if you can see the picture. I'm gonna post. I'm gonna just copy it into Discord. I mean, like, look at that. That's like 30% of all of Africa. Can you imagine the military presence it would have had to have taken to to accomplish that?
That
That's a big part.
it's, yeah, it's big.
That's a big part, man. So all of
Mhm.
this has been part of France at one point, and then it has been like slowly been given independence due to pressure from the world forces or world first powers, I guess, that they should that it's not okay to be holding these territories. Um, Even though France still hold French Guinea, which is also a large part. Pretty weird, man. Um, yeah, they definitely had like a large empire at one point. In addition to that, in around the world, and they also hold that Midwest thing that I told you about, parts of Canada, um, and part of India at one point. I did what's. Anyways, you have anything more to add about France?
Uh, I don't know, man. I mean, I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, like I
Okay,
said, to
okay,
me, I'm a very visual person, so
what
yeah, it definitely
what uh
struck me. The
what about
what's
the
up?
what about the food?
The food. Well, obviously, uh, well, French pastry and bakery and all that stuff is well, they're the best at it. You know, I would say when it comes to bread, anything that has to deal with bread is they're very good. Really miss the I don't know what's the how do you translate like to English, but it's like in French it's just pain au chocolat, which is just bread with chocolate in it, but it's the kind of like the croissants with stuff with chocolate, but you only typically is um you work I say you work, sorry, you eat them with uh during breakfast, and they close after 12. The stores that sell the breads in the morning, they open up like early in the morning, they close by 11 ish, so that so that because starting from noon, people go to lunch. People leave work, they get their lunch, they go home, hang out with family for a bit before they go back. Which is another thing that I like about the French system is there's no compared to the U.S. who here it's like there's a huge hustle culture. In France it's a lot more life focused and enjoying life
Oh
a
yeah,
little
man.
bit more. I
Yeah, man.
think there's another fun fact that said that French people sleep the most or something. I think I saw that. Uh, but anyways, even if that's true, this very organized kind of thing. It's like when morning is this, noon is this, dinner is this, and there's specific things that change throughout it. Um, so the food, haven't tried like very like food unique to France. I don't think I have because usually when we did go to restaurants, I would just get the generic stuff like French fries. Well, it's in the name French fries, right? I mean, it tastes like French fries. It's not. I didn't go to like a specific gourmet kind of restaurants. We just like ate when we were hungry. We just like go to a restaurant that was
Nah,
nearby or something.
but I understand it. I mean, like you're only like 5 hours away from a world metropolis of New York City, where I imagine you would be able to get all the food that you can get in Paris or close
Um,
to it.
right, exactly. So, I mean, this food's still pretty good though.
Yeah.
Um, Obviously, one thing that's more exquisite or more sort of sophisticated is the wines over there. But like I said, I don't drink, so I haven't really tried. Though, because my older siblings and my mom, or they drink, she definitely was like, you need to bring back some wine and bring back the salt because she has tasted French wine before and like authentic, some ones that are authentic. You can only get them over there in France, sorry. And so she wanted me to bring she you know well, anyways, it is what it is. Yeah. Yeah, pretty crazy. Yeah. I mean, people like to joke a lot when it comes to warfare about the French being cowards or runaways. But the French military was historically or very proud people, and they were very well sophisticated at warfare. Like I said, one of the oldest country in the entire world, uh, and top countries as well to when it comes to warfare and all that. So definitely, definitely have a lot of knowledge when it comes to war and all that, which is well, like I said, it's both a good, definitely interesting thing, but good or bad, that's up to you to decide. But definitely interesting history and knowledge of things like that. So yeah, it's like yeah, like I said, it's like a great place for people that love history to visit France. There's just a lot there. I mean, there's a lot. I actually went also during the landmarks in Paris. The where they used to have public execution via guillotine. Obviously, there's no guillotine over there. I believe they removed the last year where it was actually still the last public execution was sometime in like 19. I want to say the 1960s, if I remember correctly, of what the
Yeah, like we lost some of the recording there, but like I'm gonna pick it back up. The last person actually executed by guillotine in France was in 1977, by the way,
right there you go. Yeah,
and it was actually it was actually a pimp. It was a
mm,
pimp named Hamida Janboudi, who killed like a couple of girls and rape charges and so on. Right,
right,
rape,
right,
2 counts, and torture, murder, and premeditated violence. 3 counts, capital punishment, sentenced to capital punishment in 1977, and then guillotined. Um, it was actually like until like 1981 they abolished the capital punishment law in France, though. So it's not that long back, man.
Yeah, it's not that far back. Like I said, it's. But I guess it's kind of hard to let go of tradition. I guess. So yeah.
I think so too, man. Because like it's
Yeah.
been like part of the laws, it's been part of the culture of the country for so
Yeah.
long time, right?
Yeah. Which
Um,
got me thinking about. I'm not gonna switch the topic of this conversation because I just want to end on this note. But it kind of got me thinking about the sort of like how these people were even able to just go and like kind of like if it's like just a normal football game or something, just go and watch someone literally get their head chopped off and just go back home and eat dinner. It's kind of crazy
well,
that was kind of like the life back then.
yeah,
uh
yeah.
it's
That's
pretty
been like a
crazy.
public attraction, but
Yeah,
like
exactly.
but it's worse when you think
Kind of
of
like the
like
same thing with gladiator matches,
yeah.
gladiators.
I was just going
Yeah,
to say that the Colosseum in Rome.
yeah,
Um,
exactly.
take a guess, man. Like how many people have been pumped out in and out of that stadium? Like, I'm sorry. Like, I meant like how many people has been killed in the Colosseum throughout all time?
It's Yeah, it's crazy.
It's half.
And that's why
It's half.
just a
Half.
side note, just a side note. That's why I always am. I always like kind of like try to let people know, to when people sort of judge people's actions in the past, right? And I mean like like I'm talking centuries uh, or dozens of decades in the past. Uh, about you cannot apply modern morality to that of the past because it's like people just simply they simply didn't think with the morals that we have today. So they because the concept of what's bad and what's good, even today we sort of kind of agree on some things, but we can't really define it, and it evolves as time and as society changes
I
over time.
I agree, man.
So
And I would like to
oh,
say, like it has to come from that back then and up till then, the the prison system and sentencing system and judging system in Europe,
mhm,
or in France, France in this case, has been punishment and not rehabilitation. Because if you want to rehabilitate someone, you do not send them to the goddamn guillotine, right?
uh, exactly.
So like a lot of countries haven't, or some countries haven't learned that yet in the world, since the U.S. still has like a punishment system when it comes to the penal system, and so does China and some African countries and some Southeast Asian countries.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, man, it's going to be interesting to see if we are ever going to get there and like get capital punishment abolished worldwide.
Hey, I mean that's a big thing. So I mean I'll just be a passive observer as I usually am and just see how people you
Yeah,
know the people deal with that.
because you have some people that would say like, "Hell no," right?
Yeah, I'm just I don't know. I don't want because I don't. It's a tough discussion to get into, and quite frankly, I'm just indifferent to the concept.
Indeed, man. Like,
You know.
how are you going to, for instance, sit and defend probably like a mass murderer that has killed like 100 kids, right? And say that nah, he doesn't deserve to die. He deserves to, like be a lifer.
Yeah, it's completely relative. Like literally just there's no. It's completely up to the individual and how
Yeah,
they think what it is. Obviously, most people will be like, yeah, he deserves some kind of punishment. But then at that point, it comes to your personal beliefs, your religious beliefs, and all of that. Some people can make economic arguments as to why yes, why not, and there's just a lot, and gets really convoluted, and and it's almost like it's almost, to me, in my opinion, a never-ending cycle. Otherwise, if it could end, we would have like made up our mind as a society. But through this, we, every year, every day, people still argue about death penalty and things like that, or whatever issue, because it's the nature of those kind of thing is that there's no fixed standard, so it's a never-ending debate, you
Indeed,
know.
man.
Uh,
Um,
and it's just something I just don't want to get into because I value my time. So
sure, man.
yeah.
It does remind me though, like about a book I once read by someone, by a writer from Algeria. Actually,
Mm.
it was called Le Stranger, or the Stranger, the Stranger. Um,
Mm-hmm.
pretty interesting novel. Like if you ever read it, um,
Okay.
it's about this guy that lives somewhere in Algeria, and
Mm-hmm.
he's like coming to town because like his mother has died, and so on and so on, and this guy is like so indifferent, right? So it's difficult for you not to view him as an asshole, right? But
Mm-hmm.
then through the actions that he makes, and he does have friends, and he does have a job, um, and all this shit, right? But like he gets entangled in some bullshit, uh, by some altercation on a beach for some reason, right? Um, some altercation over a girl, or I can't like remember exactly what happens, but he gets into this altercation, and he kills an Arab, as it is so finely said in the book. But again, like the book was written in the 1950s, um,
Mm.
and he doesn't deny this. And like again, like it's the character, like not giving a shit, going to take responsibility for my actions, whatever. Um, and he is then sentenced to death. But he is like it is so much like underlying stuff and metaphors to analyze in this stuff, like that I can't get into it like in a couple of minutes now. But it bottoms out in that he is relieved, because like he sees the entire jury, or the entirety of people in the court, as society, and society judge even today, right? And they
Right.
judge, like on like what they believe, and they believe, like, yeah, that's an asshole. He killed those guys, whatever. Um, deserves to die. So in the end, he's just like relieved that he's like finally going to get killed, um, because he doesn't have to face the judgment of society anymore. Pretty powerful stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty intense, man. It's hardcore stuff.
That's hardcore stuff. Um, yeah, man. Yeah, man. Like this is what happens. Like the situation is that it is this altercation of like over the girl, and the Arab flashes a knife or a sable or something, and he instantly pulls his gun and shoots him, right? But
Right.
but after the guy is like laying on the beach, like they're bleeding to death, he
Mm-hmm.
decides to put four more bullets in him.
Oh.
So I guess, like that it is this the jury is like seeing that, like, okay, like you didn't stop after one bullet. You waited for him, like to drop down on the beach, and then decided to put four more in him. So, like it is pretty much a clear case that he didn't intend to just wound him. He intended to kill him.
Right.
Um,
That's, yeah. It's pretty dark.
pretty dark, yeah. Um, anyways, I think like that's it. Like I don't know. Like, do you have anything more to add to the story?
No, man, that'd be enjoyed this
Yeah, man.
discussion. Like I said, still feeling the jet lag. So yeah, I'm still like feel super tired, even though I slept. You know, my body's kind of like your normal sort of like clock, I guess. Uh, circadian rhythm is kind of off. So even if I am super tired, it'll automatically wake me up at a certain amount of time, and so
Oh yeah.
I still feel the jet lag essentially.
Well, like I
So
can
yeah,
imagine there is some time
yeah, yeah,
difference there.
yeah. Because
Uh,
which is kind of a cool thing. This is just the last thing I'm going to mention. It's kind of a cool thing, you know, how the whole thing with the time zones and sort of like, you're going from France to the United States, and I believe you're going against the Earth's rotational spin. So you're technically kind of like going back in time,
yeah, yeah,
because
yeah. You are.
it's fun to measure and kind of
You are,
cool
man.
time travel in a
Like
sense.
I've I've always like wondered like are we ever going to get to the point like where we go into cryogenic sleep while we travel so we can just like wake up fresh.
That'd be awesome if
Yeah.
that'd be awesome if we ever developed the technology for cryogenic sleep. That'd be super great, especially for interstellar travel and in
Indeed,
the
man.
distant
Indeed, man, because
future.
you can just like freeze your blood and just like wake up fresh as another dude, like getting to the
Yeah.
destination.
Speaking of which, that reminds me of, yeah, I think because I wasn't really following the news all that much, but I heard like some celebrities are like gonna go into outer space pretty soon with the Virgin Galactic.
They
But
already
we'll
have.
we'll
They
save that.
already
Let's
have.
save that conversation for like another podcast. Yeah.
Indeed, man. They already have though.
Oh, they did. Okay.
Yeah, man. They did. I saw it. Okay, man. Thanks everybody for tuning into this, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And again, sub. And thanks to Mugen for coming online.